Hey guys, and welcome to my very first story time. Now, today I wanted to tell you guys about my scariest camping experience yet. And what actually inspired me to record this video was the fact that I've seen a lot of people doing story times with some kind of gameplay in the background. So I thought, oh my gosh, I remember the time when I went camping 4 years ago and I went to Kill Bear, and this happened with my family and our close friends. So, for a bit of backstory, we always liked going camping, and for the past 4 or 5 years, we'd been going camping. Sometimes we would go in the US, but as of late, we've been going to Kill Bear, or I think it was, or if we didn't go to Kill Bear, we would go to Algonquin Park. But for this story time, it happened at Killbear Provincial Park. What happened was, this was the day before we were about to leave, and we had all just come back from going on some kind of a hike around the campsite. We had just drove somewhere and we had just returned from this hike. This hike was around water, and so was our campsite. It was around like a lake. It was the perfect time that we had decided to come back because it started thunderstorming and it started raining as well, so we decided to pack up all the things we had in our kitchen area and everything just in general that we needed to put in the car. And just as we had finished packing everything we needed to pack in our car, it of course started downpouring even heavier, and the lightning and the thunder got worse. And so we all headed to the kitchen area, and we just sat there and waited for the storm to stop. And it took probably an hour and a half. And while all of this was going on, I was in a panic because I was getting worried, because if we had not come at that time that we had come, we would have gotten electrocuted by the lightning. And so I was just thinking about that, and everyone around me was like, Alina, it's gonna be fine, we're safe. Calm down, it's gonna be okay. It'll end, and we'll be fine. We're safe. Nothing's gonna happen, don't worry. And eventually I did calm myself down, and we just all started talking, and we were trying to make jokes and tell scary stories, because, if you go camping, you have to tell a scary story. It's just the camping tradition. And so eventually both the thunder and the rain stopped, and all you could hear was the typical camping ambience. It was mainly just crickets and the usual chatter of everyone around us. Both our families got ready for bed, said goodnight, and we were both off to sleep. And just as I headed to bed and I was laying there, it of course started up once again. And I still, if I close my eyes, I can picture that exact moment going on. The moment I was trying to fall asleep, both my mom and my dad were already asleep, and I was just laying there trying to fall asleep, because at first it was just the rain, and the rain wasn't a problem. It was the thunder that started my paranoia up again. I typically think of the worst possible case scenario, and this is something I really, really need to work on, because I've been told time and time again that if you think of the worst possible case scenario, the more you think about that scenario, the more likely it's going to happen. And so that just made me even more scared. And so as I was laying there, I was finally drifting off to sleep. I closed my eyes. I laid on my left side, closed my eyes, but then I heard something else. And that something else was just shuffling or walking around of some kind. And for whatever reason, I thought it was my friend, because I saw lights passing by and I heard muffled talking, so I figured that's probably her just walking around. I don't know why. But there were also still people around us that were still up. And so that just convinced me even more that it was probably just someone walking around. Maybe it wasn't my friend, maybe it was just someone walking around. And then I continued my paranoia even more until I heard the loudest thunder I have ever heard in my entire life, and it scared me so bad that I actually shot up screaming. To make matters worse, I heard some kind of tree branch snap at the same time simultaneously with this thunder. This scared the absolute heck out of me. I shot up flying, and I screamed in a panic because I thought it was a bear. Now I'm going to move to talking to a different story just for a little bit, because this was also another reason as to why I thought this was a bear. So my friend that I thought was walking around, she had told me earlier that day when we were just walking around the campsite, just looking around and sitting, because we had this place that we would go to just for a few minutes, like possibly 20-30 minutes. We would just sit there and talk, catch up personally. And so she had told me while we were walking around the campsite about this story when her family, so the family that we were camping with, her and her parents, how they had gone camping with another family when they were camping with them. This is really, really confusing, and I suck at explaining things. I am so sorry. But their friends had their tent set up, and so they went to walk somewhere or do something, and in the meantime, a bear had come to their campsite and destroyed their tent. So thank God they weren't there. But point is, that story increased my paranoia, my fear, my anxiety. Everything just escalated up to 100%. It was at the boiling point, and that's also another reason as to why I thought this was more likely to be a bear than anything else. So now going back to my story, so what ended up happening was that there were two sections of our tent. There was the entrance section and then the sleeping section. And so what ended up happening was in the entrance section, so it kind of, so everything was being held up by poles. And so the poles, obviously, due to the rain coming down constantly, so it ended up, the poles held up and it was in this dome-like shape. So all of the rain that started pouring down obviously started weighing down on it, and it was so heavy and it was so much rain because it was downpouring, so it actually snapped, I think, one or two of the poles, and that was the branch breaking sound that I heard, that I thought was a bear coming into the tent. And that was my scariest camping experience. The next morning, we all got up, packed the tent, packed everything else away, and drove back home. And that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing this story. If you have any story times you want to share, let me know in the comments down below. Also, make sure you let me know if you want to hear more story times. This one just randomly popped up in my head, like I said, watching these types of videos, like story time videos with some kind of gameplay in the background. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like, consider hitting that subscribe button, and until next time, I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!